Good morning, Year 10. Before we go any further, just thank you and well done for getting in all that work that you've got into me, those of you that have, which is pretty much all of you, not all of you, and you know who you are, those that haven't, and they're, as I say, I'm not telling you off, there might be very good reasons why that is, but if you can get work to me, I'd really like to see it, particularly, well, all of it really, just send everything that you do to me. These speeches are important, and the poetry also is important. I mean, I appreciate you're probably not understanding every aspect of the poems. That would be um, is impossible in this current arrangement. But if you can at least get the annotations and the notes into your books, we can build on that when we get back, and you'll be familiar with the poems, and also learn the quotes that I'm telling you to learn at the end of each lesson as well. But I'll say it again, you know, well done, and I've rewarded everyone who sent me in work. It's impressive. I'm really happy about that. So well done. Now moving on to today's lesson, which is on back to doing speeches again. We're looking at tone in speeches. Boris Johnson's speech, for instance, had a particular tone. Greta Thunberg's would have had a particular tone. And we're looking at the Queen's speech, which has also got a particular tone. Whereas, for example, Boris Johnson's speech is about getting information across to you. The Queen's speech is to do with creating a feeling of togetherness. So just have a think about this. Why does the Queen deliver a speech every year at Christmas? I mean, in 1957, the Queen gave the first televised speech in an effort to make her Christmas message more personal and direct. I mean, that's why she did it, but in 1957 television was a very new thing. Why do you think she's continued to do it now? Just 5 minutes of thoughts on that, and then on to the next slide. So our learning objective today is we're going to be exploring how tone affects a speech, and identifying the techniques in it that decide what the tone is. The title is Identifying Using Tone in Speeches. So get that into your books, and then on to the next slide. Well, here's a link to the Queen's speech from last year, the whole thing in fact, but if you can't get access to that, just go on to the next slide here, and we've got the part of it that we're going to be looking at. So I'll read this. I'll be attaching this text also to class charts, but for now just read along and listen. Since the end, I won't do the voice. Since the end of the Second World War, many charities, groups and organisations have worked to promote peace and unity around the world, bringing together those who have been on opposing sides. By being willing to put past differences behind us and move forward together, we honour the freedom and democracy once won for us at so great a cost. The challenges many people face today may be different to those once faced by my generation, but I've been struck by how new generations have brought a similar sense of purpose to issues such as protecting our environment and our climate. My family and I are also inspired by the men and women of our emergency services and armed forces, and at Christmas we remember all those on duty at home and abroad who are helping those in need and keeping us and our families safe and secure. 200 years on from the birth of my great-great-grandmother, Queen Victoria, Prince Philip and I have been delighted to welcome our 8th great-grandchild into our family. Of course, at the heart of the Christmas story lies the birth of a child, a seemingly small and insignificant step overlooked by many in Bethlehem. But in time, through his teaching and by his example, Jesus Christ would show the world how small steps taken in faith and in hope can overcome long-held differences and deep-seated divisions to bring harmony and understanding. Many of us already try to follow in his footsteps. The path, of course, is not always smooth, and may at times this year have felt quite bumpy, but small steps can make a world of difference. As Christmas dawned, church congregations around the world joined in singing "It Came Upon the Midnight Clear." Like many timeless carols, it speaks not just of the coming of Jesus Christ into a divided world many years ago, but also of the relevance, even today, of the angel's message of peace and goodwill. It's a timely reminder of what positive things can be achieved when people set aside past differences and come together in the spirit of friendship and reconciliation. And, as we all look forward to the start of a new decade, it's worth remembering that it is often the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring about the most lasting change. And so, I wish you all a very happy Christmas. Well, that's a lovely speech, isn't it? She did not know what was in store for us, though, did she, this year? It'll be a bit of a different speech at the end of this year. But yes, it's a nice speech, and it's very, it's designed to bring people together and make them feel kind of a brotherhood with people around them. Okay, now here's some tasks for you to do. First of all, how does the Queen appeal? How does she sort of speak specifically to a British audience in her Christmas speech? Pick out the language she uses to do this. So just find one example of a piece of language that is specifically aimed to English people. So what is the tone of her speech? How is this different to Boris Johnson's speech? So I want you to find one piece of language that you would not find in Johnson's speech and explain why you wouldn't. Johnson's speech being very factual and about giving information, this one about building a sense of togetherness. So how does a queen create a sense of togetherness? If this is different to Boris Johnson, how is it? You can use the examples you've already found. And there's a metaphor in there. Find it and tell us and do it. I just write a little piece about how it's effective in creating the sense of togetherness and getting the kind of brotherhood of man tone that the speech has. I'll give you 10 minutes to do that, year 10. Now it's your turn. Imagine you are the Queen. Or the King. Write a speech to the nation reflecting on the year and providing hope for the future. Quite interesting this, when you look at her speech that we read earlier on from 2019, she talked about it having been a bumpy road, and she was talking about, for the most part, she was talking about Brexit, I imagine. Now we've had this whole pandemic, so you could imagine that it's the end of this year and you're writing a speech to the nation reflecting on the year and providing hope for the future. So by Christmas we'll be out of the woods on this, I think, and well, I don't think, I know, and we'll be back at school and things will be pretty much normal again. But imagine you're in that place now and you're looking back at this. We're right in the thick of it now. And providing hope. You want to write a speech about how we're going to come through this, because we always do and we will, how we're going to come through this and how it's going to change us all for the better, and that the country will emerge from this pandemic a better place than it was before. And that, I really believe that's what's going to happen, and I think it's worth thinking about. So write a speech about that, and I would love to see them, and I will reward them when I get them. So thank you, year 10, and I will speak to you tomorrow.